This video is going to apply to anyone who wants to get into social media at any stage, whether that is as an employee, you might want to start up as freelance, you might also want to start your own agency. Whatever sort of level you're at, I'm going to try and let you know as best as possible what my experience has been and how to maybe get into each stage. Hey everyone, welcome to Divine Disclosure. Today we're going to be running through how to get started in social media marketing. A couple of things. The audio should be a little bit better in this video as I've upgraded the audio equipment. So we'll start from the top with getting into social media marketing as an employee. So the marketing industry, in my experience, has always got great opportunities. It's always growing, it's always evolving. Workplaces absolutely love giving people the opportunity to work there, whether that is as an apprentice, whether that's work experience or as just an entry-level social media executive. Not only does giving new people opportunities like jobs and apprenticeships and things like that build their reputation as a business, but it also allows them to free up some of that workload as well. So whilst they're training people who work for them, or people in those entry-level jobs, regardless of their capacity and how advanced they are at social media, they can still pass over that work, free up their time to focus on larger strategies and almost grow their team and take on more new clients, which is obviously more revenue for that agency. In terms of difficulty getting into social media marketing in that side of the industry, I don't think it's that difficult right now. Some of the knowledge that I'm sharing at the moment is from a previous role I was in at an agency, which is probably coming up about 2 years now, so it may be a little bit outdated, but I think it's still pretty on track with what's happening now. When I first started, they didn't really require a huge amount of experience in the role. You didn't have to be advertising currently for businesses or anything like that. You just needed a sort of general knowledge of marketing itself, how products are marketed and different types of marketing online as well. I think that having that general knowledge sort of helps them understand how you can generate some sort of strategy and then apply that more specifically on social media. One thing I would definitely recommend is setting up some sort of community page, whether that be on Facebook, Instagram or another social platform, just so it enables you to get used to the sort of administrator type tools. It gives you that access to something where it's not just, you don't just have a personal profile on Facebook to look at your friends' statuses, you don't just have an Instagram account to look at friends' photos. You're using that deeper side of social media that businesses are going to use. You're using the same tools that big corporations will be using as well. So if you know your way around those settings and those tools, it will definitely help them pick you over someone who doesn't necessarily know about that side of Facebook or Instagram. Salaries for social media executives completely vary. A lot of it is based on what sort of agency you're working at and where they're located as well. In the UK, here is the average salary for a social media executive. My salary at the previous agency was $20,000 a year. This was a little bit different though, because at my previous role I was classed as a senior social media marketing executive. At the previous role I was in, for an entry-level social media executive, I think from what I remember the salary was around $15,000 to $16,500 per year. What you've got to take into account though is that the agency was based in the northeast, so if you compare that to somewhere, an agency based in London down south, naturally they're going to be paid more just because of the cost of living already. If they're based in London, the agency itself is probably much bigger as well, so they can probably afford to pay their employees more. If you don't know a huge amount about paid advertising on social media, but you do have a general interest in marketing, the creative side and sort of social media platforms in general, I'd always recommend starting out at an agency. Working at an agency gives you a big opportunity to piggyback off the back of their brand. So they've got the case studies, they've got the sales team to get new, bigger clients on board that you wouldn't necessarily have the chance to work with if you were a freelancer. You can use the knowledge and training that you learn to not only work on these higher level ad accounts at the agency, but you can take all that knowledge and all that training and then start applying it to other areas of your life. So for example, if you did want to start doing freelance on the side, if you were allowed to, if you wanted to eventually start your own agency, having this industry experience to chat to new people, speak to businesses, collaborate with other marketing teams as well, all of that sort of stuff is going to help you in future build out a better portfolio, whether that is freelance or again starting your own agency. So let's move on to freelance. This is where we start talking money, which I'm sure you'll be happy about. Just to be completely transparent from the outset, freelance is definitely tougher than being an employee, of course, which is probably common sense, but it really is quite difficult at the start, and it's more based on securing new clients. The difficult part about being a freelancer is that if you've not already done any work and you can't share any of the previous work that you've done at an agency or another job role, just for privacy reasons, you don't have those case studies there, you don't have the previous figures, you don't really have a proven strategy to show them. That means businesses are left to completely trust your word, and it almost is just like a sales pitch, and they've got to compare what you've got as a freelancer to what another company might have proposed to them, where it's got case studies and testimonials and reviews and things like that. Obviously it doesn't really stack up very well for the freelancer versus a company. Another risk being a freelancer is at the very beginning, obviously money can be quite tight, cash flow is probably quite slow. I would always recommend building some sort of safety net in terms of a pot of money that you can rely on to obviously pay bills and things that you know are going to need to be paid for, even if it's just for a rainy day and your outgoings are low. It's definitely always beneficial to have, you know, a good few months ahead of you, knowing that you're covered, so that if the worst happened, it didn't really go to plan, you've got a good few months there to sort of relax, find your ground again. You could either start up again, it gives you an opportunity to start looking for new jobs if you needed to, just so you can secure a more consistent income until you're ready again to go back at it. So a huge benefit to freelance is, what I like to say, is removing the middleman. So you get full monetary access to what you're working for. 100% of the funds goes to you. So to explain that middleman analogy a little bit better, you've got the agency, then you've got the client, and then you've got yourself. The agency secures that work, they task you to do the work. You do that hard graft, you know, whether it be setting up all of those social campaigns or something within social media marketing. The client gets results, the client pays a big chunk to the agency then offsets a small amount of that towards your wage, your salary. Your offset is basically whatever your national average salary is for your age, or whatever sort of level you're working at within that social media team. The rest of the money obviously goes towards the turnover of the agency. Just for example, at the last job that I was at, I was getting £1,400 after tax, whereas in the agency we're just creeping up on nearly £10,000 after tax, which is obviously a completely huge life-changing difference. So removing that middleman means that you work directly with the client, you remove the agency from the scenario, and instead you do the work for the client and they pay you completely, and you have full control over those funds that they pay you. One of the beauties of freelance is that it can be done on the side. So if you have a full-time job, bearing in mind, I know some can be very demanding and it is going to require a lot of work outside of your normal working hours, so it can be quite overwhelming at times. But again, because it's digital, you don't need to physically be somewhere. You could do it from home on an evening, setting aside 2 or 3 hours on an evening after work to catch up on your accounts, apply some campaigns, answer emails. People are also starting to respect the flexible working hours, where people are most creative and at their optimal level of working. So I don't think people are necessarily worried about getting an email at 8 o'clock on an evening. So unless there's really like a major issue, you can sort of, let's say, put in half an hour at your lunch break at your normal work just to answer some emails quickly on your phone, just to show people you're active. Then on an evening, that's when you do the bulk of the work. I think what I would do is start approaching local businesses, whether that is some sort of shop, a boutique store that are trying to sell things, or that would sell things physically but now need to do it online. Maybe look at restaurants that have been hit by coronavirus and need to start taking more orders online or something like that. Businesses are now starting to really embrace the digital side, and they need help with that as well. A lot of business owners are just used to footfall coming through, and obviously that's completely changed now. Social media could be their key to sort of unlocking a lot more new customers online, or a lot more traction. And obviously if you sell that to them properly, and obviously they wouldn't be paying as big of a fee as they would at an agency, it's quite appealing for them to come on board with you, test it for a few months, and it's more money in your back pocket. So starting your own agency, this is the money talk. This is where we talk big figures, big scale, big growth. If you want to make a really good amount of money, this is the sort of level that you want to be at. So creating an agency is that big leap from freelance, where it's almost a side hustle, you do it in your free time, to something that becomes your complete working life. You live and breathe it every day. It almost consumes everything you do. Everything that you do is around the agency. As an agency from the outset, you tend to develop more of a business-based brand. So you remove yourself from that personal, or I know this person, they are a freelancer, to I know this person who owns this agency. and you kind of build a different type of reputation that you sort of need to keep up online. That shift can be difficult sometimes because you may have already built a personal brand that you need to keep up, but then also now this company brand that you're also developing on the side. So managing the two and making sure enough quality content goes on both of those sides is a bit of a difficult process. Our company page is quite inactive, to be honest, and we definitely need to up our game on social, which is definitely something we're focusing on this year, mark my words. So as an agency, your service offering may change. As you start to meet more like-minded people, you might have some business partners that come along, other freelancers that you want to collaborate with that are either doing social so you can scale that, or they may do other marketing channels that you could sort of get on board and you know your clients could benefit from, and you start to build out this team. As you build out the team, again, you have a bigger service offering, your capacity for workload increases, your retainer fees might also increase. Again, these are all things that would just allow you to grow and sort of move in the right direction. The complete removal of a boss or a manager is also something that is really appealing to people, but that also does come with its setback. It does sort of tie in as well as a freelancer. If you were doing freelance full time, you don't really have anyone to manage you and make sure that you're doing the work and that your output is at the level it should be. Developing that self-discipline, some find might quite difficult at the start. I did as well, to make sure that I got an efficient working routine and obviously making sure that everything is done properly and on time. That was something I struggled with at the start because I just didn't realise the importance of it. It's just something that you get to grips with over time. I think as a freelancer, as your client list grows, or as an agency, as that builds out, you do start to realise the importance. You do get into a bit more of a working routine where it's a little bit more structured, and I think you start to take things a little bit more seriously. At the very start, again, it can be hard to take seriously because you might not have a lot of clients, there's not a lot of people relying on you, but as that builds, the importance of you being there and being involved also grows with that as well. As an agency, you might change the type of business that you are, so you might have gone from a freelancer, so a sole trader, something like that, to a limited company. Obviously you would pay different taxes, you would also receive different benefits as well. So as an agency as well, as you start to build more case studies, you start to build your testimonials as well. It's a really good way to tie it all in with your agency branding, whatever that may be. And I think it just sort of builds this structure that a business can look at and think, actually these guys look really good, it's definitely worth coming on board. And that doesn't matter whether you're an agency of 100 people, 10 people or 2 people. Essentially, if someone was to look now, CB Social is just 2 people. It's just myself and Beth who are the owners, but our network is a lot bigger and the work that we outsource goes a lot wider than just me and Beth. There's a lot of freelancers involved that we work with and help us scale. Not only do the freelancers we work with get work and they can have some money in their back pocket, but it allows us to, again, shed some of that workload that we wouldn't necessarily focus on. We'll focus on the strategy, the campaigns, the design work. They focus on different bits of time-consuming work like organic scheduling, for example, and that frees up our time to focus on more important paid strategies. It also helps us, again, free up capacity to bring on more new clients on bigger retainers. So I'm going to try and not drag this one out. That's pretty much it for now. I think I've covered all of those main areas. If you're interested in getting involved in social media, make sure you get on LinkedIn, things like that. Start having a look at what job roles are out there, what sort of requirements there are, see what you can fit into and what slots into what you're doing. Take a look on job sites as well, chat to a recruiter, let them know what requirements you've got and what you can work with as well. They should be able to find you a good role based on whatever your experience is and your expectations. And again, it's just, as long as you get that stepping stone into the industry, from there you should be good. You know, you'll get your training, you have your experience, you bring that forward and you develop from there. One thing I would definitely say is if you feel ready and you know in your mind that it's a calculated risk, just take the leap, take the jump, get out of there. Before we set up CB Social, I was 1 week into my paternity leave just after we'd had Archie. So it was a bit of a crazy time to leave a very secure job. We had 2 or 3 months worth of savings. I mean, looking back, I would probably recommend more just in case, because the bigger the safety net, the better it is for you. But I think it did give us that drive to make sure that we succeeded. There was no room for failure. We just had a baby. And I think, you know, the odds were sort of stacked against us at first, but we came out on top, I think, with a lot of hard work, with a mixture of luck as well. Using a quote there from Ali Abdaal where he says, a lot of work. There's also a hint of luck in that, and then using your advantages as well. Right, I'm done. This is the third time I've recorded this video. First time the audio wasn't set up properly, the second time one of the files corrupted, and this is the third time lucky. So if you're watching this right now, everything went fine. Make sure you subscribe, drop a like, comment below, let me know what you want to see next. I've got a good few videos planned, so I'll be working on getting them out as soon as I can. A day in the life, maybe some more things around social media. If you want to see more of the things I'm doing day to day as well, drop a follow on the Divine Disclosure Instagram. I'll probably show a bit more behind the scenes there, and you know, it's something I want to build. Just follow me, go.